In this guide, I'll give you some valuable tips and tricks to make Stompin Grounds a playground. Let's first analyze the rhinos themselves and how they function. The rhinos are trained to hit groups of people as well as individual players who may be close to it. The rhinos have two attacks, a light attack and a heavy attack. The light attack is where they thrust forwards lightly multiple times, and the heavy one being where they slash forwards at an extreme speed. The heavy attack is usually telegraphed beforehand. Their faces will start to turn red and smoke will spawn near them. The rhinos can also turn and change directions at random. You may see it almost track you if you're close enough to it actually. From what I observed, two rhinos will sometimes go together to one side just to gang up on people who may be on that side. They also often hang around the edges of the map and use their heavy attack to get to the other side of the map quickly. Since players often hang around the edges, the rhino will stay there for a bit, attack some players with a light attack, and try to knock them off the stage. While the rhinos may seem random, they do have a bit of a pattern. From my experience, what causes people to lose boils down to two things: poor positioning and poor map awareness. Since the objective of the match is to survive, people will often run around aimlessly without looking at the surroundings. Often they'll run with groups of people, and since the rhino knows that will happen, they target them. Or they won't even move their camera to know where the rhinos actually are, and they'll just focus on that timer and hope that the rhinos won't hit them by the time the timer goes to zero. And that lack of map awareness coupled with poor positioning is what gets them eliminated. And on the other side of the spectrum is that you may focus on the rhinos and have good positioning, but since you're so focused on the rhinos, you didn't even notice the other rhino charging right at you. Good positioning means nothing if you aren't aware of your surroundings. While on the other hand, good awareness but poor positioning isn't ideal either. It's a balance between positioning and map awareness. Since the rhinos are likely to target a large group of people or players who are close to it, maintaining distance is crucial in order to win on this map. Here's some tips to improve positioning and map awareness. Let's start with positioning. Firstly, whatever side the map the rhinos are on, you should be on the opposite side. If they're on the right side, you should be on the left. If they're on the left side, you should be on the right. And you should also rotate around the map by jumping and running. Jumping and running is slightly faster than just running, and never put yourself in a situation where two rhinos are after you. You may avoid one, but the other one might just get you. From what I gathered, the rhinos actually live around the edges of the map targeting people. So while you may think going to the middle path is a bad idea, use it to go to the other side. It sounds strange, but since the rhinos are on the edges of the map, the middle path, even for a little bit, is safe. Just make sure to pan your camera and cross the road when the coast is clear. And speaking of panning your camera, moving your camera to get information on the whereabouts of the rhinos is uber important. And also an aspect of the map that I feel some people ignore is diving. Diving can come in clutch when a rhino is charging its heavy attack right at you, and has allowed me to reposition myself and has saved me many a times. You can dive on the bottom lily pads and actually avoid the rhinos entirely. You can also even use the lily pads to jump over a rhino that may be approaching you. A strategy that I often use is to run behind a rhino and follow it until it turns around. While a risky strategy, it can be beneficial since they can't attack you backwards. But do be aware of the other rhinos though. Speaking of being aware, here are some tips to improve your map awareness. Make sure to constantly pan your camera, and looking ahead of the rhinos to see possible escape solutions is an exercise I recommend everyone should do. Observing the rhinos and predicting their movements, while it seems impossible, but with due time, I promise it will start to click. Two rhinos may go to one side together, and that when the rhinos are at the edges, they'll be more likely to perform the light thrusting attack as a way to knock you off the platform. Keeping distance from the rhinos and looking ahead along with rotating is a key aspect of winning on this map. If they do hit you, try to aim for a pad and aim for the opposite direction you're heading to. So for example, if the rhino knocked you to the left side of the map, flick your control stick to the right side of the map and vice versa. Great positioning coupled with great awareness of your surroundings makes this map a walk in the playground. Just make sure you're constantly moving by running and jumping, spin around, turn back around. Use all the movement the games provide. Often in the heat of the moment, we forget we have a decent amount of movement movement that can prevent us from getting eliminated. The rhinos love when people are in groups because that's what they've been trained to target, so avoid clumping together in maps if you can help it. 2 rhinos are more dangerous than 1. Run behind a rhino. Use the lily pads as a way to avoid the rhinos, and you can also dive over a rhino as well. This map is very simple at its core, but you'll need to be quick on your feet and aware of your surroundings. Comment below what season 5 map I should cover next, and subscribe.